evening and welcome to Meticulous Moments. My name is Juanita Kapp. You can reach me at meticulousmacarons@gmail.com or find me on LinkedIn. Since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the globe, I've had the wonderful privilege to meet a wide array of fantastic individuals. These individuals have truly touched my life in so many positive ways. Amongst this group of people, there are authors, public speakers, life coaches, poets, leaders, and visionaries. They are the unsung heroes of our time. Therefore, I decided to start the Meticulous Moments movement out of a sense of my gratitude. It is my way of giving back to the community. Let us share and reshare their stories in an effort to build a better society. Good day everyone and welcome back to another episode of Meticulous Moments, where we facilitate community upliftment through leadership development. And today we have the wonderful privilege of spending time with the amazing LS Kirkpatrick, and she is from writers to readers. And when I asked her about the 2 novels that she had written and published, she wrote the following. One is a novel and one is a legacy book, but the others are short stories. She says, I started writing for my grandchildren. I would tell them bedtime stories and they would want to hear it again, but I had made it up so I couldn't remember it. I began to write them down. Then when I moved, it was a way for me to personalize the story to what was going on in their lives, and I would mail it to them. My books, however, are not what I've written for them. The first one, Martha's Jade, is about a child that grew up in a house of drugs, abuse, alcohol. Then there is a homicide and she is all alone. She's on the streets at 9 years old and something changes. She turns herself in and now they have to decide if she committed the murders or if she is innocent. My neighbor just read the book and she said, you have to write a sequel. 12 Letters, that's the other book from the attic, is a fun book about the letters between an aunt and a niece. One is full of funny and outrageous stories thought up in her head, and the other full of fun and outrageous stories that happened in life. The third book, It's All of Our Story to Tell, is about life. Growing up, making choices, the changes and problems and joys in life. I really got to know these characters very well, and it was hard to say goodbye to them after the story was completed. When asked about leadership, LS said the following. She said, I have heard it described on the Forbes website as this when she talks about the difference between management and leadership. She continues, Forbes defines an entrepreneur as a leader who worries about her people, a manager who worries about his boss. Leaders walk in front and show others the way. And entrepreneurs know you need to be both a leader and a manager, but in that order. They know a great leader is the ultimate solution to any problem. And here at Meticulous Moments, we focus on leadership, we focus on gratitude, we focus on community upliftment. So do yourself a favor and watch this interview with LS Kirkpatrick. And with that, we want to say welcome to our guest speaker. Welcome, LS. Good afternoon, Meticulous Moments audience. Thank you so much for joining us for another wonderful session and discussion on leadership. And today we have the privilege of spending time with the wonderful LS Kirkpatrick. Welcome, LS.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited about today.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, I know your real name, but you prefer to go on LS. Would you like to elaborate on the reason for this for us? I loved the explanation when I heard it.
Yeah, I have a pretty common name, and there's actually other writers who have my name, and there's singers and famous people too who have my name. So I just go with LS, saves all the confusion, and people remember me.
Absolutely. That's just what I wanted to say. You know, it's unique. to call you LS. So that is catchy. That's very clever of you. I like that. I like that. And now I know you. We've had a wonderful virtual coffee and we've shared some meetings together on the groups that we are on. But would you introduce yourself to the audience, please, so that they can also get to know you?
Okay, sure. I'm a grandmother of 15. I have four step-grandchildren, but they're all the same to me. I just love them all. And they go from the age of, 3, soon 4, up to 22, just turned 22. Wow. So it's wonderful. I love being a grandmother, have 4 children, married, and I love life. I just enjoy every day. Everything is new experience, and my grandkids are the reason why I got into writing books, because I would write them stories.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So they were the catalyst in bringing you to the place where you're at. And I know your works are amazing. And we are going to discuss some of your works in this session. We have to absolutely make the details available to the audience, so that they can also look at your products and purchase your products. But, I always thought of, when we are leaders, when we are children, we have dreams, we have aspirations, we have ambitions. And as I was thinking of the questions to ask you, I wondered, what is your life dream? And has that been the dream throughout? Or has it changed? Because sometimes you hear people say they wanted to be a fireman when they were young, but they turned out to be a doctor or a lawyer. And sometimes you get those people that, the wonderful individuals that have stuck their mind to something and said, this is what they want to do, and they end up doing that. But that's a small margin of people. What is it in your situation? What did you want to be when you were little? And is it the same as what you're doing today?
The answer is no, it's not the same. I just kind of floated around with life. When I was really young, I loved my family, never thought about what I ever wanted to do. And then when I was 12, I went to a woman doctor. That, in my time, that was kind of unheard of. And she was so kind and so patient. She really connected with me, which I loved, because that had never happened before, from an adult, because at that time kids were still seen and not heard. You never interrupted adults when they were talking. Yeah. And so I wanted to be a doctor because of her. However, there were too many people who told me, no, you can't do that. Or would the thing that bothered me a lot when I was little is people would laugh at my dreams or laugh at things that I would say, and they weren't being cruel. It was just something they couldn't see. And so I kind of went into the medical field. I became an EMT. I was a nurse for a while. But it just kind of all changed. And I listened to all of the negativity growing up. And one day I finally said, well, my kids encouraged me to write books. And I thought, okay, I will do it. And I tell you what, it has opened so many doors. I not only write books, I am now doing 4 anthologies where other people are writing with me, which I love. And I'm also doing a podcast. Never thought I would do anything like that in my life, but I love it so much. I just get so much joy from it, from promoting other people, from letting them tell their story, and so many interesting lives. Oh, it's just wonderful.
Absolutely, and there's always a reason for everything that happens. As you were telling me your life story, I thought, when I was young, and I still love the ocean. I used to love the ocean, and I still do. Yes. And I decided I was going to be a marine biologist. Yes. And my mom did not like that idea at all, and neither did my grandmother. They told me, are you nuts? They said, you're not going to go out on that big ocean on a rubber duck chasing whales and dolphins and all kinds of sea life. So they told me, and I listened to them, and I didn't study that. And
that was me too.
Many times over the years, I found myself saying to myself, I should have just gone and done what I loved.
Absolutely.
But then if I look at my life now, I think if I was really on a rubber duck somewhere there in the ocean, I wouldn't be helping the people I'm helping today. So everything works out in the way that it has to. I believe that.
Yep, I do too. And it's not that you couldn't have helped people then. It would have been different. But, we only have today. We only have the choice we make right now. When I was in high school, since the doctor thing wasn't going to work out, I actually looked into marine biology. And all the marine biologists I talked to said there's no jobs out there. There's no career. There's no future in it. Well, later on, I went on. In my later years, when I was about 58, I actually graduated with my associate's degree, which is a 2-year degree here in the States. And it was in aquarium science. I became a diver. I worked with marine biologists, and they're still saying the same thing. But yet, I worked with students who graduated college who were going into marine biology. They were all told the same thing, and it's like, I don't know why they say that. That it's, if you want to be a marine biologist, go for it. Don't listen to the negativity. Just do it if you want to do it. That's your passion. But like I said, we only have today. We only have the choices we have right now with the information we have right now. So live your life, enjoy each day. And you never know where you're going to end up, which is part of the journey. It's an amazing journey. It's not just trudging along. It's making the choices and being happy with it, being happy in life, whatever it is.
I agree with you. And I'm already thinking, we should get a rubber duck. And
there you go.
LSJ on that rubber duck and just some whales and some dolphins.
That would be so much fun.
It would be. It brings me to my next question. When did you realize that you are called to do more as a leader? What was that defining moment in your life where you said, well, I'm here, I have these, capabilities, I have this passion to help people. When did that happen and how?
Well, I've always had the passion. It's always been there. Never thought of myself as a leader. I was the youngest in all of my family. I was the youngest with friends, and that includes cousins and stuff. I was very tiny, very, very short. So I was always considered too little, too young, too all of this. And so I never felt that I could do much of anything. I would try, and some things I couldn't do because I just physically wasn't able to. And it wasn't actually until this year when I had several people tell me that they thought I was a great leader. And I thought back over just the last few years to a few situations where I was put in a leadership situation and I backed away from it because who was I to do this? And I realized at that time I shouldn't have. But like I said, you only have that moment with the information you have. Now I've got this whole world opened up to me that talks about mindset and value and just growth, and it's amazing. And I'm like, if I could go back to my 12-year-old self and say, doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. If this is what you want to do, you go find a way to do it. You find a way to get the scholarships. You find a way to get grants to go. Because my family was, I guess people would say we were very poor. I didn't know it. None of us knew it. We still enjoyed each other. We did a lot of things together, but we were definitely by no means well off. But, study what you want to become. Find people who are doing that and stay in touch with them. We moved around a lot. I mean, a lot. One time school. I went to 6 different schools. It was usually 2 schools every year. So, there were some foundational things that I did not get growing up, but I gained other things. I learned how to communicate with strangers. I learned how to just love on people where they are. I also learned that people are very different. And so they bring different things to the world, which makes it an amazing world. A lot of my friends grew up in the same town all their life through all the school, and they never got to experience all of the things that we got to experience. Excuse me, including allergies. But,
oh, no, of course, no problem.
But yeah, it was an amazing life. There were times we wish we could have stayed in one place and got to establish ourselves. But it was just an amazing life, and I wouldn't want to change it because I would miss out on so much.
Yeah, wonderful. Beautiful, beautiful testimony. What inspired you to keep going?
Oh, boy. My family, my grandkids, I want to leave a legacy for them, and not just a financial legacy. One thing I heard this year that I've never heard before, and it was like, oh my gosh, that is me. That is what I've always wanted to do. I just didn't know it. And that was to live on 10% and give 90%. I mean, how amazing is that, to be so satisfied, so set financially, and you don't have to have a lot of super expensive things. In fact, there's great ways to enjoy traveling and other stuff without outliving on the 90%. But being able to help a family member who's maybe they are in the hospital, and just to be able to pay their bill because they're not financially off, or a friend, or, our neighbors went through a tough time recently. And, I did what I could, but gosh, it would have been nice to help them out with some of their finances that was going on. It would be nice to give to orphanages who need it. There's some really legitimate orphanages out there. And, I can't always take everybody in all the time, but it would just be amazing to have the financial ability to help those who can use it. And it's not just giving all the time, 'cause sometimes it's so easy just to give and not think about the rest, but it's providing the things that they actually need. A friend of mine, in fact, you may know her, Elena, who does the Christmas Widow program. First-time widows, some of them, maybe their spouse took their own life, so there's no financial help there, or maybe their spouse is gone and that's half the income, and how are they going to make it? And they just need help going through that first year, that first Christmas, getting groceries, something like that. And I would love to be able to do more than what I do. That's me, always wanting to do more.
That's your heart. That's why you want to give away 90% and live on 10, because you have a heart for people. And let me tell you, you are a heart-centered, selfless leader, and the world needs more people like you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, you are someone that you're always helping people to excel, and you're always helping people in everything that they are busy with. Now, I want to know, because the focus is on you today, I want to know what makes you happy.
Oh, people.
Good.
Just other people who share their hearts. My family makes me happy. My husband, just being together, but happiness is actually a relative term, because conditions make you happy. True joy, real joy comes from deep inside of you. I have to tell you about my grandson. One Christmas I gave my grandkids all a book. It was just this amazing creative book about science and biology, because those are some of my deep passions. And and it gave great explanations, simple but not so detailed they would get bored with it, but it really helped explain why things were the way they were. And at the end of it, there would be like a Bible verse that was appropriate to go with it. And I thought, well, that's a nice way to still keep God involved in it, but still let them see what's going on. And he was reading it. All of a sudden, he stands up, he throws the book down. My daughter was telling me this, and he goes, "Why does everything have to be about Jesus?" Well, unbeknownst to me, their other grandma had just flooded them with books and stuff all about Jesus and whatnot. And it's good to do that, but you've got to talk to them. And so I asked my daughter, I says, "Can I talk to him? Or do you think he's still pretty upset?" And she goes, "No, he'll talk to you." And so he got on the phone, and I said, "I want to tell you why with me, everything's about Jesus. When I was about your age, I asked Jesus in my heart. I went to this like a vacation Bible school. Every day I raised my hand, every day. Friday came, and the teacher's talking to my mom's, saying, I don't think she understands. Well, like I said, you don't interrupt adults at that age. I was 9 years old. All of a sudden I said, "But I do understand." And they both looked at me. My mom gave me the look. The teacher looked at me. She crossed her arms and said, "Okay, you tell me what it's about." So I told her. And I says, "The difference, though, is I don't feel different inside." One of the verses we read, which is in 1 Corinthians, it says, "You will be a new creation. You will be a changed man." And I said, "I don't feel any different." And she's like, her jaws dropped down. She goes, "I don't know what to tell you. Maybe talk to the pastor." So a few weeks later, the pastor came to the house. Don't remember a thing he said. The only thing I remember is he's looking at me, and I am smiling. I mean, I can't wipe the smile off. I'm already feeling that joy inside of me. And he goes, "Do you want to pray, or do you want me to pray?" Now, remember, I was very, very shy. And so I shook my head and I pointed to him. And so he prayed, but I just felt this. And when I woke up, there was just this amazing light. And I looked to the side, and I saw this black darkness coming towards me, and it terrified me. And I looked back, and I saw this light, and I looked back, and the darkness was gone. I mean, you couldn't see anything in our home. And it's probably a little more than everybody wanted to hear, but that change in me, I mean, I searched and I searched for that change. And I think that's why it happened that way, is I found that change. So I told my grandson, I said, trying to take Jesus out of me, Ma, is like taking out my heart and expecting my blood to keep working, taking out my lungs and expecting me to breathe. It is not a religious choice. It is not something I do. It's a very part of who I am, and we can't be separated. And he goes, "Okay, I understand now." And it's like, cool.
And the whole situation panned out just well.
yeah, it's, and it's not like I made this dramatic change in all of their lives. But one thing I told him, I said, "I'll write you a letter, and I'll tell you the whole story of everything that went on." And I did. And I said in the letter, "I could not love you as much as I do if Jesus was not in me," because all of my grandkids know how much I really love them and care about them, and I'm rooting for them. And it was kind of like, okay, so I know who Grandma is now, and that's who I am. I may not go out and, I saw the greatest bumper sticker, and it says, "I'm not going to beat you over the head with my Bible. But man, you are so missing out." And I loved it. I loved it. It's like, yeah, you are are missing out on something that's going to enhance your life. And just, even though there's struggles, I tell you, 2 days ago, I was so frustrated. I was talking to myself. I had the door open. My husband came in and said, "Who are you talking to?" And I've got tears running down my face, and we're talking about what's going on. And he says, "You're just getting started, Linda. It's going to be okay. Give yourself time." And, it's like, I don't have time. I'm getting older now. I can't wait 2 or 3 years for something to happen. I want it now. But that's part of the passion of going for what you want. You just, don't think you've got forever to do it, because nobody knows when their time is up on this earth. And everybody has an expiration date. So, take advantage of today. And if you want to do it, do it. People talk about, well, it's just a hobby or whatever, or it's a pipe dream. Don't listen to that. Try it. If it doesn't work, maybe it's not for you, or maybe you haven't found the right way to make it work for you. And I'm looking at the past, I'm going to say 8 months. It's September 1st today. So the past 8 months, because I started in January, it's like I did a summit. I started a podcast. I've got 2 books that are going to be out this month. I've got 4 anthology books. I've got 2 other books that are going to another publisher. I've got a journal done. And I have learned to look at myself in the mirror and tell me that I am worthy. And this is what I tell other people and I'm a speaker. I can't believe how many speaking engagements I have. Here's another one. But my big thing when I give my talks is I tell people, you have great value inside of you. You are enough and you are worthy. And what has surprised me is how many men resonate with that. It's like, I am enough. I am worthy.
Absolutely.
And the value you have inside of yourself, you never run out of it. You can't run out of your own value. And anytime you give value to somebody, saying hi to them, saying hi to a stranger, smiling, you'd be surprised how many people, their whole day gets better just because you smiled at them. That's value you're giving to others. Every time you give value to somebody else, you get more value back inside you. So you're never going to, even if you hold it all inside, it's still there. You can't get rid of it. You're a valuable person. So that's a good thing to remember.
Absolutely. And you are listing the things that's happening in your diary. And I'm thinking, what more do you want to do, LS? I mean, there's only so many hours in the day.
I know. And I was surprised. My husband said, you have been working so hard, because I put in a lot of hours. When I started out, I was doing probably 11 to 12 hours, maybe even up to 17 hours every day, working on learning how to be a business person, because I did not know how to do that. Learning to be an entrepreneur, learning what it's going to take to succeed in writing books and publishing them and going at it. And he says, you're going at it so hard. And I really forgot where I'm going with this. I have ADHD. I did not know I had it until I was 58 years old when I took a test. And they said, why did you wait so long? And it's like, one, nobody knew about it when I was a kid. It was just starting to get recognized when my kids were little. Yeah. And it's like, so I think I've always known there was something different about me, because I thought different. I didn't understand. I still have trouble understanding sometimes what people are talking about. And so I went and I got tested, and they go, oh, yeah. It's like, how did you even finish college? Because most people with my level of ADHD can't finish college. They can't finish 1 year. And I go, well, I started in high school, or right after high school. I'll tell you, this is how naive I was. I missed 1 term because I finally got that job. That's all you were told to do. Get a good paying job, good benefits, you're good to go. Well, I got fired. Nobody warns you about getting fired. And nobody tells you it's okay to get fired. That's just a job that wasn't for you. Go to something else. And so I missed a term of college, and all my friends were graduating. It was really I was so happy for them, but I was so sad I couldn't graduate with them. Nobody told me that I could go make up that year, and I would also graduate, or that term, and I would also graduate it. I thought it was like high school. If you miss part of it, oh well, you missed it. Time to go on. And so I spent all those years, and I finally went back, got my degree in aquarium science, which is about like marine biology. So I finally did that, and dream never left, and I loved it. I still love it. I can still do it, but
absolutely. Yeah.
I love life.
You do. And, even just as the thought of you in the last 2 days or 2 days ago, what happened and what you've explained to me is really showing me your heart for people and your need to make the world a better place, because you didn't get upset about something else. You didn't get upset about something trivial or superficial. You got upset because you want to make sure you do everything in your power that you can do to transform lives before, your time is expired, as you would call it. That says something to me about you. Other people would sit and cry about silly things, but you cried because you have such a need to give and to transform and to change, that was your reason for being upset. You have such a pure spirit. It's so refreshing to hear this.
Thank you. Yeah, my legacy to leave my grandkids is not stuff. It's, I want to learn how to live on 10% and give 90% so I can teach them. I want them to not have to struggle with finances, so they miss out on the things they really want to do in life. And I want them to know how valuable they are and how worthy they are. This year, probably in March, I was doing a 5-day mastermind, and it was the very first time I'd ever heard about mindset. And they said, what's the one thing you've heard all your life? And I put that I'm not worthy. And it resonated with the speaker so much that stuck with me. And it's like, okay, so that's probably not a good thing. One thing that I realized I had been doing the last few years, I didn't even know I was doing this. I was telling myself that I was unworthy. I was telling myself that I wasn't enough, and saying all those negative things to me without even realizing it. Yeah. So I went on to learn more about mindset. And one of the lessons that we were told to do was, write these good things down, look in the mirror, and say them to myself. I could not look myself in the mirror, which is a shock, because as I was growing up, the mirror was my favorite person. I could talk to fantasies, be a singer, tell jokes, whatever, I loved the mirror. But I couldn't do it. It took me about 6-7 weeks to be able to look myself in the mirror and say, you are worthy, you are enough, and you have value inside of you. I listened to Les Brown, the speaker, who says you have greatness in you. And that's where I've kind of changed that a little bit. And I say you have great value in you. And I want people to know that the realization that I couldn't say anything nice to myself, that really shocked me. Yeah. And it's like, I don't want anybody to feel that way. I want them to know how valuable they are.
And we are conditioned when we are young into that limiting self-talk, because we are treated in a certain manner. You mentioned something earlier that also occurred when I was a child. You were seen, you were not heard. You didn't have a voice, you didn't have a choice. And I don't mean that we should lean to the other extreme. I mean that we should find a balance somewhere. That really sets the stage for us to have that negative self-talk. It's something that comes automatically when you start feeling, well, I don't have a voice, I don't have an opinion, what I say doesn't matter anyway. That's how we are raised. And I think through the disappointments and the failures in life, it's just solidified. And then we end up as grown-ups, as adults, and we don't understand why. And that happened to me as well in my early years. Why did I not progress as fast as I wanted to, as much as I wanted to? And then I had to address the fact that the things that I believed about myself and the world were not true. So, yes, you are empowering, you are showing leadership for your grandchildren. And your grandchildren, because you are empowering them on different levels. And your grandchildren will pay that forward into other people's lives, not only their children, but other people's lives as well. So I think it's a very positive impact that you are making. Now, today in the corporate world, there's a lot of talk about management and about leaders. And I did a post a few weeks ago in the Connected Leaders Academy about the fact that I've heard about micromanagement, but I've never heard of micro leaders. So trying to bring the point across, because then I ended the quote and I said, make sure that when you lead well. And the point I wanted to bring across was, if you are micromanaging, you can't you can't count yourself as a leader, because a true leader doesn't do that. So kudos to you for teaching your grandchildren to have that wonderful self-talk, the positive self-talk, to be able to excel in their own leadership journey. But in your opinion, LS, what is the difference between management and leadership in your opinion? How do you view that point?
I love this question, because a few months ago, I wouldn't have been able to tell you because I wouldn't know. But I'm actually in the process of writing a book for unpublished writers, because I do coach unpublished writers to get their books out. And one of the things I found while I was doing some research was something that Forbes said. Forbes defines an entrepreneur as a leader worries about her people, a manager worries about his boss. Leaders walk in front and show others the way. Entrepreneurs know you need to be both a leader and a manager, but in that order. They know a great leader is the ultimate solution to any problem. That's just, if that's what a leader's about, that's what I want to be. I want to find the solutions. I spent 30 years doing genealogy research. Wrote some books on that and helped families out. Helped a lot of the Daughters of the American Revolution here in these states. They have to find their patriot, but you have to find all the documentation that's very accurate that links them to that patriot. It's very tough. So I did a lot of research, and that I had no idea that 30 years of doing that research, of finding the right path, of trying to find new ways to look at, solving the solutions was part of preparing me for where I am today. So you may not like where you're at right now, but think of it as training for what you are going to do in the future, what your purpose is in life.
I love that. That leadership is problem solving.
Yeah.
So if you only have it easy all the time, the result of your leadership is not going to be as epic. But if you have problems to solve all the time in your leadership journey with people, learning people, how to meet them on their leadership levels, how to meet them with their personalities, what to say, how to engage with them, how to build teams. If you encounter those little obstacles, it teaches you to be ultimately the best leader. So we can't always want a smooth ride when it comes to these things, because then we are stealing that experience from ourselves.
Yeah. John Maxwell talks about, and I just read this in one of his books. He talks about being a leader. You teach the next person to be a leader. Then you don't just leave them there. You help that person teach the next person to be a leader. So you're still there supporting and working with each other. And then that person is helping that third person teach the fourth person. So it keeps going on. I've heard about people who have these great groups that they're doing. They started, it's just powerful, it's going. Then they move on to something else, or they retire, whatever, and the group falls apart.
Yeah.
And they're devastated. It's like, what happened? Well, they didn't teach their leaders to teach the leaders. It stopped that process. So that was kind of great as I was reading that I was hearing this from other people.
Yeah.
To put it together in my mind of what it really means. So being a leader is not just, taking charge, telling everybody what to do and keep going on. I mean, think about the people in our own lives. If you had someone who was always telling you what to do, but who might have been in a leadership role, but didn't actually teach you how to lead, teach you what you needed to know, you probably didn't follow them for very long. Or you've got a boss that like micromanaging, trying to make sure you do every detail according to them. Well, as a leader, you need to let your people learn how to do it with their abilities and how they can do it. Because then it comes from them, and we're not little cookie cutters,
Yeah. True.
Even if you make cookies, you're going to know that each gingerbread man's going to be a little bit different. The decoration you put on is going to be different. Maybe one arm's off a little bit or a leg, So it's that creativity that everybody has inside of them, and everybody does have a part of creativity in them, because that's how we're able to do things. Even people that are by the book, that want everything lined up, you watch them and there are some creative angles in them that nobody else can have because of how they think. That's why each of us are so unique. It makes it such an amazing world that we're in because of that.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And you read a lot. I know you do. Because you work obviously a lot with novels and authors, and I think it's a wonderful life that you've put together for yourself. I think it's amazing, and it suits you like a glove. And it brings me to one of our last questions, which is, who is your role model?
My grandmother.
Beautiful.
And I have to tell you something. I love to read, but I am not a reader. I am lucky if I get through 5 books a year, because I used to be a reader. And for all you teachers out there, don't do this to your students. I was in 4th grade, and I read all the time. I always had books with me. I would read through, I would read fast, and I would understand the concept of the books. Teacher embarrassed me in front of the most popular student in the class. And I thought we were supposed to be in reading groups to help each other learn to read. So I thought, great, I'm doing all of my reading stuff. I was always far ahead in reading. And I said, and the student said to me, I'm supposed to help you read. I go, no, I'm supposed to help you read because I pass all of my tests. I'm further ahead than anybody else in my reading. And so he went and asked the teacher, and he came back and says, no, the teacher says that I'm supposed to teach you. And I thought, well, that doesn't make sense. So I went and got the teacher. And of course, this is the most popular kid in class. I am so shy. When I was in high school, one of my classmates said, you could put Linda in a room with somebody else, and it's an empty room, nothing is in there, you're still not going to know that Linda's in there. That's how shy I was. But anyways, I brought the teacher back, and I says, we need to figure this out. And she goes, no, you read fast, but I don't think you're reading accurately. So he's going to teach you how to read. And I was devastated. It's like I was finally good at something, and now somebody is telling me that I'm not good at that. And so he had me read. So I read out loud, and he goes, when you get to a period, stop, take a breath, and then read on. And it slowed my reading down so much, because now every time I read, I had to think about how I was reading. I didn't get to really enjoy the stories. And so that carries with me, what I should have done. And this is something you parents can tell your kids if you're kids ever get this is just listen. You know, and I told my mom about it. She goes, well, just do what the teacher says. We only have 2 months of school left. But what I never heard was this: doesn't matter what the teacher says. Fine, you have to do that for class, do that. But when it's over, you go back to reading how you want to read. You read fast. You run your words together. Because if you're understanding the concepts, you're understanding what's going on in the book, and reading is supposed to be for pleasure. Let your kids enjoy reading. You know, and you may have the kid that reads all the time, and it's like, that's okay. Are they helpful books? You know? So we have to be careful with our words and how we teach others, because you don't want to teach something that's going to devastate them, especially being a leader in a leadership role. How can you approach this situation? It's like, you know, of course, I think it was that teacher's first year too of teaching, after I talked to my mom a few years later. But it's you have to really watch the impact you have on people, and that's why I think it's more important that yes, they need to be taught the right way of things, but encourage them on how to do it. You know, if she would have said to me, I don't know, if she would have said, by reading this way, you're going to understand a lot more of what you're reading, and it's going to make you a better reader, I probably would have attacked that as a challenge, because that's one of my whys is I love the challenge. So I'm good at solutions.
Absolutely. I'm thinking of, you know, when I do my talk about my life and, you know, what I've been through in my life, there's a phrase that I use, and it's my signature phrase. I always tell people there is you can do the right thing, but there's the wrong way to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Because often the intention is pure, but the way we deliver that doesn't work. It brings more harm than good. And when you were talking about that teacher and you were mentioning that it might have been that teacher's first year, the intention probably was to assist you, but what transpired was embarrassing, demoralizing, negative. It created that experience for you. So it's very important what you said. You said we should be careful when we lead others and help others, because we are working with people, with emotions, and people that want to, you know, learn and excel. But if they are on a certain level, we shouldn't take away what they've achieved up to that level. We should actually, as we rise, we should lift them. He should have said, you know what, you are doing a wonderful job. There's a few little things that we can maybe look at. Let's see. And not in front of the whole class.
Right. Yeah.
In private. To say, LS, this is what you need to go work on this afternoon. So the intention was good, but the delivery was very poor. It was very, very demoralizing. And I commend you. I mean, look at what you are busy with. There's so many projects that you are busy with. You are assisting so many people. You're busy with your family, with your friends, with your work colleagues. You've got a podcast going. Everything is going so well. Your diary is overflowing. I want to commend you. I don't think you can fit in much more. So please don't feel like you're not making an impact. But what are before we close with the last question, I'm going to combine the last two questions, and then I have one last question for you. We have 8 minutes left. My question to you is, what is the most important project that you are busy with at the moment that we can assist you with?
Boy, the most important project. I think, gosh, I love them all. But I think the toughest, I'm going to go with the toughest project I'm doing right now, is an anthology, which is, for those who don't know, because I had never heard what an anthology was until just a few months ago. Yeah. And it's where several authors come together, everybody writes a chapter, and then they produce this whole book. And a couple weeks ago, my very best friend, her nephew committed suicide. And he left behind a young wife, a very young child, and they were already in financial hardship. He was an alcoholic, very heavily alcoholic. And that was, you know, they were going through a divorce and he just ended it. And I thought, you know, I've heard over the last several months of people who have gone to take their own life, and something happened that stopped them, whether it was their child, you know, didn't want to leave their child behind, or other things like that. So this book is, I don't have a name for it. I don't know what to call it right now. I just call it Anthology on Suicide book, because I need help coming up with a good name. But it's people who have been at the precipice of the darkness of no return, is how I say it. They've stood there. I mean, whatever their method was is right there. They're ready to do it, and something happens to stop them. Also have two people who have asked if they could be in the book, but they're coming at it from the other side. One person had three family suicides all within a very short period of time. And it's like, how do you handle that? I mean, it is so permanent for the person going through it, but they've still left all of this devastation behind them. They didn't solve anything. They might have taken away their pain at that moment, but they didn't take away the pain of everybody else. The other thing I've heard is, as an adult, when you commit suicide, now you've given permission to your children, your nieces and nephews, the neighbor kids, that, okay, it's okay to do this. This is a way to solve the problem. But you don't solve anything. You might have taken yourself to, I just can't take this pain anymore. You see no hope. You know, that's a big part of it. There's no other way out. I don't see anything that's happening. But so I want people to share their story, because if each person who writes a chapter can touch one other person, you know, if the book touches one other person, it's been worth it. I did get a hold of somebody yesterday. We actually were talking, and it's like, oh, well, I'm in this project. Oh, I'm in this project. And I thought, how am I going to offer hope? Because you can't just put a phone number on there and say, call this number if you're thinking about it, because that's not enough. You know, you want to really reach that person. And so they're involved in a project of where they are reaching the people. And it's like, yes, here's a number, but here's some solutions. Here's some hope for you. Here's another way. You know, I learned about perspective this year. And if you just adjust yourself just a little bit, you get a whole new perspective on everything. Of course, you know, when alcohol, drugs, you know, enhancements are involved, you've got to get rid of those. But because they just kind of intensify, and they tell you lies that are not even a part of what's really happening. And you tend to believe those lies. So there's a whole situation there. And by having the story come from different people, I mean, all those different perspectives, you know, this is what I went through. This is what I went. Everybody's gone through it differently. And nobody, in fact, this is the very first time I've ever said this out loud to anybody, is that I stood on the precipice at one time. And the thing that stopped me was, I don't want my grandkids to know that this is okay. I don't want them to ever think that this is a choice. It's not a choice. It's you're being pushed into this darkness by another force. And you may think, I have no way out. Well, there is a way out. It may be tough consequences you have to face first, but there is a way, and it will get better because you're going to make better choices.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much for that, LS. You have spoken so many truths. It has been such a delight to have you on the show. Thank you that you are here, you know, imparting your wisdom and your knowledge, and your beautiful heart just shines through. I love that. I absolutely love that. And to the audience, I've been privileged have been invited to be a part of one of LS's anthologies. So I must still figure out what part I'm going to do there. And also, I believe one of your podcast sessions, I'm looking forward to that. You're such an amazing leader in society. Thank you. I'm honored to be invited on. And with the close of this beautiful session that I know is going to reach the right eyes and ears and going to make an impact in society, do you want to leave the audience with a few words of wisdom in a minute, or I think we've got 2 minutes left? Do you want to leave the audience with a few words of wisdom?
I do. There's something I would like to say, and it's your life is going to touch one other person. And you may think that's not enough. So what? It's one person. That doesn't matter. It does, because that one person is going to touch someone else's life because of you. Yeah. And that person may touch another person who ends up touching 100 people's lives, impacting them. So you don't know what that one value you pour into somebody else, how far it's going to go, and it may touch somebody who ends up talking to thousands of people, all because you did something for somebody else. You smiled at them. Somebody came to you and said, I need some advice, and you gave them advice. Speak from your heart. That's what people really want to know. They don't want to know this head stuff. You can get that anywhere. You can get it in books.
Yeah.
But they want to know what's in your heart, and if somebody needs to hear a truth that's going to be hard to hear, find a way to tell them with love and with compassion, and find a way to help them see it as a change in perspective. If you point your finger up in the air, you've got 3 fingers pointing down. And I see that as God pouring blessings into you. People see it as energy pouring, and that's coming down to 3 fingers. When you point your finger at somebody else, you got 3 fingers pointing back at you. When you point your finger at yourself, you've got 3 fingers still pointing to your arm. So quit pointing fingers. Keep your finger up so you get blessed and you get that energy in you. But it's all perspective. It's all perspective. And just love people. Love people where they are. Everybody's in different places in their lives, and just love them where they are.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very, very much for a wonderful session. God bless you, my friend. And to the Meticulous Moments audience, we had a wonderful time with LS. We're going to make all her details available to you after the session. Reach out to her, network with her, and make a positive difference in society with her. And with that, we say goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.